The battle for Texans is Monday. All the Houston Texans got to do, y'all, let QB CJ Stroud get loose out there. Open up the playbook, dominate Dallas, and come back home down 45 South with a victory.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, I'm John, some sports guy Hickman, your Texans credential media member and Texans football analyst. Alongside the man with the big hat and the even bigger smile, Brian Big Sarge Bearfield. Thank you guys for watching today. We will be talking about taking the shackles off of your QB so he can shine. He just want to score points. What you gonna do? He just want to score points. We also dive into the keys to victory, especially looking at the defensive side of the ball, doing what makes sense to secure this win. And then we close out today's show. Talking about whether or not fans and some media members are overreacting to this season. We're looking at Demeco Ryans ceiling. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can now start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Big Sarge had an opportunity to hear from sophomore quarterback CJ Stroud. And the talk of the town has been, man, CJ hasn't been the same CJ we saw last year.
Yeah.
And going into the Detroit Lions game, one of the things that we talked about that I really wanted to see was CJ have his moment. We saw CJ have moments last year, immediately going back to the Bengals comeback win or the Tampa win where he threw for 5 TDs. That hasn't been the case this year, but going up against a broken, beat down, drama-filled, unserious franchise like the Dallas Cowboys, this is a perfect opportunity for CJ to have that moment. And he just feels like, hey, listen, I'm not a game changer. I'm not a game manager. I'm a game changer. Let's hear from CJ Stroud.
Fast, all those things. How much does that resonate with you, the confidence from your coach?
Yeah, I think, for me, I try to, not only just make plays, but, try to take care of the football and, do the right things to, win the game. And, sometimes they go their way, sometimes they don't. So, that means a lot. And, I think I'm not just a game manager. I can be a game changer. And, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And for me, I'm going to keep the swag and kind of just like what I told y'all last year, like Steph Curry can go 0 for whatever, but he's going to keep shooting. So, that's for me. I'm going to just keep shooting, keep trusting myself, keep trusting the talent God gave me. And, one of the biggest things, too, is my teammates trust me. Me and Dalton talked the other day, and, he has the utmost respect in me, and I have the utmost respect in him. And I needed to hear that, that just, the team still rallies behind me, and they still, want me to be at the helm and love me, through the thick and the thin. So, yeah, it feels good to, still have the backs of my teammate and, to be able to go out there on Sundays and do what I need to do to win the game.
Big Sarge, I want to give it directly to you. What does taking the shackles off of CJ Stroud, allowing him to get loose out there, look like? And how can that version of CJ really wake up this offense?
John,
talk to me.
Viewers, listeners, and fans. That sound familiar? Go! John, shoot, man. Shoot. Steph Curry, he missed a shot. Doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to see the ball go through the net, and guess what he's going to do? He's going to come back out, and he's going to shoot again. And he's going to keep shooting, and he's going to keep shooting until he gets it right, because shooters find a rhythm. Real quick, the late, great Kobe Bryant, I watched him play in the game, and Kobe kept taking a shot from the same spot, and he kept missing it the entire game. He kept missing that same shot. But, John, when the game was on the line, he went right back to that spot and hit the game winner. And when they asked Kobe after the game, hey, man, you were shooting terrible. Why did you still take that shot when you kept missing it? He said, because I hit that shot routinely. He said, and every time I took the shot, I knew why I missed the shot. So I kept correcting it. And when it was time for me to hit it, I hit it. As I digress, John, I want CJ to continue to play. I want CJ to shake off whatever funk he's been in. I want CJ to shake off whatever he keep hearing from Bobby. I want him to shake all of that off and say, starting this week, I'm going to play. He said on last week that he wasn't having fun. And in the second half of that Lions game, you can tell he wasn't having fun. At some point, CJ is going to have to say, I respect y'all. I respect everything you do. I'm coachable. I'm going to do whatever you ask me to do, but I got to go play my game.
Yeah.
And I got to get out there and I got to play my game. He's right. There's no way possible that I will ever call CJ Stroud a game manager. He is a game changer. You got a young man who can make all the throws, all of them. There's not a throw on that field that he cannot make. He can make all the throws. He's a great decision maker. I know that he's had some bad passes this year. I know he had some very bad interceptions, but he is a very good decision maker. What I need CJ Stroud to do, and John, they're gonna clip this one up, but it's okay. You know what I need CJ to do? The exact same thing I used to say about Davis Mills. Hey, stop thinking so much.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think that's where we are right now with CJ. I think that's I think him thinking so much is a byproduct of the offensive coordinator thinking too much. The play calling in general, let's not just limit it to Bobby Slowick, though he's over that, that's his role. But I think those two just haven't really been on the same page in terms of getting the best out of everybody. And so I think, especially once Nico Collins went down, I think the QB, the skill positions, or the running back, tight ends, everybody involved, I think they all kind of got to a place of how can we rebound right now?
Yeah.
Because there's no Nico. And then Stephon goes out. And so the security blanket that those two receivers have brought to this team, and Sarge, stop me if I'm wrong, all offseason during training camp, there was a point to be made to make sure Stephon Diggs was involved.
Yes.
And I think that bled over into kind of negating from, hey, we got to get other guys involved, which is why we wasn't seeing Tank so much involved early on in the season, which is why John Mechie's involvement was, almost non-existent. So now you got a quarterback that's backed against the wall, an offense that's backed against the wall. And it's kind of like, as a boxer, man, I took a rough one. My last fight was bad. I lost. I trained. I did everything I needed to do, but that fighter was just better than me. Now I got a tune-up fight to get myself back to where I need to be. And I think this is, exactly where the Houston Texans are right now. They're going up against a broken, beaten down Dallas team. No Dak Prescott. They got thank God they're not playing in the daytime. You got your wide receiver can't catch passes because your owner got the ceiling wide open and the light shining through. They so dysfunctional down there in Dallas to where Houston is coming in and say, you know what? My game plan for that last fight would have worked if I would have did A, B, and C a little bit better and different. Let's stick to that game plan. Yep. Let's get these things going because you saw Tank get involved early. You saw John Mechie involved. You saw Dalton Schultz with a couple of, big catches for the Houston Texans down the stretch and during that game. And so that's what I think is going to help CJ right now. Just, you know what? Let me get back to what I was doing and let me do it consistently to where we're able to connect and get Nico Collins back is huge.
John, and I know, look, I know that this is not a basketball show that I keep making basketball references, but I mean, hey, if they fit, they fit. You remember when Jordan came out of retirement, what number did he wear?
45.
And then he said, what? I can't wear this number because I don't feel comfortable in this number. And what did he do? Went back to 23. And when he went back to 23, what happened? I'm saying that, I preface that to say this. Hey, Bobby, right now, this offense is 45. You need to go back to 23. And what I mean back to 23, you need to go back and look at what worked for CJ last season. What worked for Nico last season? In the 7 games Tank played in and how productive he was, what worked for him? Hey, how did you get Dalton Schultz involved? It's time for them to take off 45 and to put on 23 because John at 6-4 last season, right? 6-4 last season, that 23 led them to everything that they accomplished by the end of the season. This year, you're coming in, you're coming back, and you're wearing 45. You're 10 games in. Shed that jersey, put on 23. Shed those plays. Get rid of those plays. Stop trying to run these condensed formations. Shed those plays. And so I'm saying that to say that's what's going to make CJ feel more comfortable. Get him back into the rhythm that he was in last season with what he was doing. And these next 3 games is the perfect opportunity for you to do that. Hey, CJ,
Absolutely.
Let's sit down and let's look at these things. Also, hey, CJ, Case Keenum, Gerard Johnson, Bobby. Hey, this is what we did last year. This was working last year. Get Case back involved and get this thing back on track.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue for us to talk about how both sides of the ball can kind of get back to a place where, and the defense, top 3 defense in the NFL, they've been there, but what can both sides of the ball do to dominate Monday night? Doing what makes sense for both sides to get a victory. I want to look at the offense. Sarge will talk about the defense. You guys are going to love what he has to say about Jalen Petrie's involvement. Who, by the way, just continues to shut us up every time we have a critique in this game. He goes out there and plays on fire. So we got more on Locked On Texans. Hey, Texan fans, with big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about a gotcha moment ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month, when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on a limited plan. Additional taxes and fees and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for more details. And also, Texan fans, this episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Texan fans, this is the perfect time to get in on the action as Houston heads into another exciting matchup, the Battle for Texas. FanDuel got the odds you're looking for, like the over-under set at 42.5 points with plus 260 odds. If you're feeling like a high-scoring game is in store, it could possibly be. Houston has only dropped 40 once this year, so this could be a game where we see them beat up on a bad team. Or if you're expecting the Texans to strike first, lock in Houston to score the first touchdown at plus 165. Great value for a team that's hungry to get started early and strong. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel.
Yeah, CD, man, he's so explosive. Starting with just him in the slot, like his ability to just run after catch is just, he's an exceptional player, right? He can align everywhere on the field. Like, he aligns outside, he can take the shot outside, the go balls, but he also gets inside. They move him around a lot. The coaching staff does a really nice job of just putting him in a lot of different spots where you have to have great eyes for where he is at all times because he is their top playmaker, and he's proven even when eyes are on him, he can still make plays. So it's a big task for us stopping CD, but it's going to take everybody. It's not going to be about one person stopping him. It's going to take everybody on the defense.
Demeco, what would it mean to you?
And that was head coach Demeco Ryans on Thursday talking about CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, and the challenges that he presents to the Houston Texans defense. And John, the reason why I asked him that question is because One of the things that stood out in his answer, he said they move him around a lot. The coaching staff does a really nice job of putting him in a lot of different spots where you have to have great eyes for where he is at all times. He is their top playmaker. John, I'm going to take you back. If I could put you, you know how they do on television, John, to the Minnesota Vikings game.
That was a rough game too. I don't want to be. Don't take me back too long.
Let's
get out. I don't want to be there too long. That was a rough game.
Pause. Hey, look, John, take you back to that Minnesota Vikings game. That what Demeco Ryans said on Thursday sounds a lot like what he said leading up to that Minnesota Vikings game with wide receiver Justin Jefferson. The Dallas Cowboys do the exact same thing with Justin Jefferson that Minnesota Vikings do. They put him in a slot. They put him in the outside. Sometimes they'll bring him from the backfield, put him in motion. They're looking to create any and every type of mismatch. So what I need the Houston Texans defenders to do is to be prepared for that. And what I need head coach Demeco Ryans and defensive coordinator Matt Burke to do is to learn from your mistakes, learn from going up against Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings earlier this season, because the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb is the only offensive weapon that they have. He is the only offensive weapon that they have. And so, John, what you need to do every time is when the offense, when the Dallas Cowboys offense comes to the line of scrimmage, you should have Derek Stingley just standing right near the linebackers looking for CeeDee. Wherever CeeDee is, I don't care if he's inside, I don't care if he's outside. Wherever CeeDee Lamb is, you put Derek Stingley Jr. on him, and you live with that.
Yeah,
you live with whatever, wherever CeeDee Lamb is, you put Derek Stingley there as well. Because John, let me tell you something.
Talk to me.
CeeDee Lamb gets matched up on Jalen Petrie. That's a win. CeeDee Lamb gets matched up on Kadar Holman. If Kamari Lassiter isn't able to come out of concussion protocol, that's a win.
That, yeah.
If he gets locked up on D'Angelo Ross is going to be reaching up for him like he did against Amari Cooper in week 16 last year when Amari Cooper was with the Cleveland Browns. He's going to be reaching up for him as CeeDee Lamb blows right by him. And not only that, John, CeeDee from Houston. You know how it would feel for him to beat his home team and have a great game? They've got to learn from their mistakes against the Minnesota Vikings going into this Dallas Cowboys matchup and make sure that Stingley is everywhere CeeDee Lamb is.
Glued to him.
Yes.
Glued to him. And we don't want to see Azeez on CeeDee Lamb either. Right?
No,
and
we don't.
Y'all may say, why would I say that? Well, I just saw it against one of the league's best slot receivers in the NFL in St. Brown.
And you see Petrie on Adams earlier this year.
Don't want to see that. I think that's where, we talked about the stubbornness of this team so far this year, which stubbornness has led them to losing the Green Bay Packers game, the Detroit Lions game, the New York Jets game. Those are three games where we sit back and say, man, that could potentially be, this team could be 9-1 right now, whatever the case is, instead of 6-4 where they sit. That's the keys to victory for what the Houston Texans need to do on the defensive side of the ball. Sarge, for me, I think, listen, hey, offensively, again, we've said it. This is the perfect game to get back going, not only for CJ Stroud, but, we talked about it a couple of days ago for Joe Mixon. Attack the edge of this defense. Dallas defense has been god-awful. They can't contain the run from the edge. They play out of control, and I really think Micah Parsons is doing some self-sabotaging to get out of Dallas right now. But they will get beat by mixed directions, and they will play undisciplined. And they have allowed over 600 yards on the ground this year when teams rush to the left or the right side of the edge of that defense. And so this is the call to action for Titus, who needs to rebound himself.
Yep.
Laramie, who needs to rebound himself. And we know that Bobby Sloak will, call for the tight ends to help out on blocking on the edge. And by the way, we don't want to see another John Mechie or Tank Dell blocking a DN ever again.
Ever.
Let's throw that out the way.
Ever.
But I think this team could really do themselves a good service by just attacking the edge of that Dallas defense. And with the Cowboys defense being so undisciplined, this is the perfect game for CJ Stroud and his passing attack to rebound because they will be able to hit on big plays with Nico Collins coming back because of what? The play action.
Oh, wait, I thought you were going to say because Donovan Wilson was the safety, but I'm listening.
Listen, the Cowboys are, and I'm sorry to talk about your team like this.
Oh, man, hey, look, I ain't got no team when I'm doing my job. and listen, who better to talk about them than me?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad. I hope the Texans win because both of us can't be. One of us, gotta share this pain. They already whooped up on my boys, so hopefully they whoop up on your boys. But the Cowboys are one of the worst teams in the NFL at stopping the play action pass. That's just the facts. Look at what Carr did. Look at what Goff did. Look at what Kirk Cousins did. Even look at what Jalen Hurts did to their defense. Hell, even Daniel Jones, Carr ate him up for 205 yards from play action passes. Yeah. Daniel Jones 102, Jared Goff 130, and Kirk Cousins had nearly 100 yards. And I think this is the game where Houston comes out of and say, oh, yeah, this can work. Oh, yeah, we can be successful in this area. A large part of me thinking that is they will be getting Nico Collins back.
Oh, no, real quickly, John, I was going to say this too. The Dallas Cowboys defenders are a team or defensive backs, they're secondary, that will pass interference a lot. You can cause pass interference penalties against them because you're going to be beating them so much. They will hold. They will hold on to you. They will look. They may not allow the big play as far as the catch is concerned, but you can get the big play off the pass interference.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that, their linebackers will be out of position.
So
sure. they over pursuit and overplay their hands out at their linebacker position for the Houston Texans, and they getting the Overshawn back. You mentioned earlier in the week, great athlete. I think he's still trying to learn some things and learn himself.
This is like his rookie year.
This is like his rookie year, and so he's figuring things out. But when I go back and watch some of the Dallas Cowboy games, guys, if they're supposed to be attacking the edge of that defense, I'm seeing Michael Parsons bite inside, and then boom. Yeah. Now you got that running lane wide open. If the linebacker is supposed to shoot that B gap, I'm seeing them over pursuit, and now a lineman is able to kind of just gracefully move them out the way, and now you're seeing 8 yards on the ground picked up by the running back, or whether it's a running back or maybe a mobile quarterback, whoever. But those guys, when I say undisciplined, over pursuing, not where they're supposed to be, crashing down when they're supposed to outside contain, and then for the linebackers in secondary position, they are just getting beat. So I don't know what I just said that made you. If I listen to Sarge making a face,
I didn't know that over pursuing was a word.
They're over pursuing where they're supposed to be. But I think this is a game for everybody that's been in their mind, in their head so much. The flow of the game is going to come to them because Dallas is going to allow it.
Yeah,
because of how bad John, they've been. Yeah,
and real quickly to just add to your point, their defensive front seven is also very light. They're very light. So you're not going up against Grover Stewart or Buckner or against Quentin Williams, or you're not going up against those big, physical, strong defensive tackles or defensive ends. You're not going up against those type of players. They're very light in that front seven.
And that's going to allow a Shaq Mason. That's going to allow I think a Juice. I think that's going to allow that entire offensive line for Houston, because those guys, those defensive guys, they'll spin into the wrong area trying to finesse their way to a play. And then you're looking back and say, oh, there's Joe Mixon. Right? Oh, he's gone. And so, this is the game for Houston to just sit back and say, let's not overthink this, man. Let's do what makes sense, because Dallas will open up those lanes for Houston to exploit them down the stretch.
Yeah, and they need that, John. The Houston Texans need that to show, because everybody's going to be watching. Again, you've got to rebound and show that you are as good as a team as everybody thinks that you are.
And that's going to lead us to talking about Demeco Ryans. My man, Paul Gallant, Put something out there on Twitter. Once you put it out there, it's gonna stay out there. Talking about the ceiling of Demeco Ryans as a head coach. So we'll talk about that before we close out today's show. But Texan fans, this is a great time to just give yourself opportunity to think for yourself. You can do that with Hillsdale College. Right now, they are offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution. A lot of Americans need to kind of freshen themselves up on that, along with the introduction to free market economics and a brand new documentary style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, and discussions, or you can sit back and enjoy the lectures. Go to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll today. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. Again, hillsdale.edu/locked-on to get registered today. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. If this is your first time watching the show, please subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. I do want to add to that the Dallas Cowboys problems. They have a 78% defensive red zone TD rate. So once teams are getting down there, typically they're scoring TDs and not threes. And that's been a part of the Houston Texans problem. Sorry, they have had how many one-score games this year? And you look at those threes turning into sevens, well, maybe that is some of those problems. And maybe 6-4 does look like 9-1 or 8-2 or something along those lines. And the Dallas Cowboys are currently allowing their most passing yards on defense over the middle of the field. So I can't stress enough how important it is to get Nico Collins back for this offense, because we know he will go eat up a team on defensively in the middle of the field. Now, Demeco Ryans' ceiling was a talk of the town.
Yeah.
What does his ceiling look like? Should we be worried? Should we be concerned? And my thoughts to that question by Paul Glenn over at 97.5 ESPN, where me and Cody used to intern at, my thought to that is we can't tell nothing about no ceiling from a winning coach through 27 games. When that winning coach took over a dysfunctional organization that nobody in the NFL wanted to touch, that they had to go hire a wide receivers coach for a team in David Culley that didn't score. One year he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't score no TDs from the wide receiver position. Then they had to go get Lovie Smith in back-to-back years, took the number 30th ranked defense for 4 years in a row. I mean, they were 27, 29, 30, and 30. Turned that into 14 last year, top 3 this year. I think that's premature to even have that conversation and to even have that thought. And you look at what he was able to do coming in. Now players want to come to Houston. His impact on this franchise this past offseason was apparent, right? One of the bigger upgrades we've seen this year was getting Azeez over here in Houston. So I thought that was a premature thought. I think that was for Paul. And we know Paul, so I think that's on brand for Paul. But I think that's something where you kind of got to not even think about. And I saw Paul wasn't the only people having that thought, wasn't the only person to have that thought.
Yeah.
And I think people feel like Demeco's too loyal and, we haven't seen this. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a winning team in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
They're still trying to figure out some things, Sarge.
So let me say this, John. And when it comes to Demeco ceiling, so Demeco has coached in totality 29 games in the NFL in the year and a half that he's been a head coach. 29. John, he's 17-12. That's 70%. You know how hard it is to win 70% of your games in the NFL? We're talking about what's his ceiling, and he's 6-4 coming off of the season that they had last year. This isn't David Culley. If you want to have that conversation about what's David Culley's ceiling, then you can have that all day long. All day long, you could have that because what David Culley and Demeco Ryans were two different first-year head coaches.
Right.
They were two different coaches coming in. David Culley was a lifetime positions coach. Demeco Ryans is a former player turned head coach. And so if we're talking about what's the ceiling for David Culley, that's one thing. But to talk about the ceiling for Demeco Ryans, that's totally different. And John, I was here during those tumultuous years that the Houston Texans won a combined, 11 games? Won a combined 11 games. I was here when Deshaun Watson didn't want to play for the franchise, and then he went through his legal battles. Like, I was here.
He was running safety on scout teams.
Right. I was covering this team 3 years. And you know what was missing in those 3 years, John? There was no culture in the locker room.
Right.
There was no culture surrounding the franchise. Day one, when Demeco Ryans stepped foot into NRG, the entire culture shifted. And it shifted for the best. And so when we're talking about what's his ceiling going to be, we don't even know yet. But we can't quantify what his ceiling is going to be in wins and losses until we start including what he's done for that franchise. He revitalized the franchise that was on life support. And he came in and said, everybody move out the way. Clear. Move out of the way. Clear. And he revitalized and he brought this franchise back to life. He brought the franchise back to life. Him and Nick went and got CJ Stroud. Him and Nick went and got Will Anderson Jr. Him and Nick went and got Tank Dell. Him and Nick went and got Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Daniil Hunter. He's revitalized this entire franchise. So to ask what
in 29 games.
Right. So to ask what his ceiling is, I think it's premature in such an early stage when he hasn't even finished his second season. If you want to do this in year 5, that's one thing. If you want to do this after he's coached 50 games, that's another thing. And yes, I know everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody can ask the question, but everybody shouldn't ask those type of questions, especially when it comes with you got data to back up what you're saying. You got your opinion, sure, but you got facts. And I just think that it's entirely too early to ask what his ceiling is when you know what he looked like, John? So what is that? Who sings that song? Is it Killer Callion and Slim Thug? No ceilings?
No ceilings.
Exactly.
And Paul mentioned this between the player-only meetings, the repetitive nature of this team mistakes, and I think he included gaslighting the media at the press conference. And I think this has probably been one of the more candid times we've seen out of Demeco Ryans the last week or so, calling out his quarterback and amongst other things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people are mad at player-only meetings. These players are getting paid millions of dollars and they're competitors. They want to win. And sometimes it is the players.
Yeah.
Case in point, we could talk about, Chris Stroud, but I'm looking at some of the offensive linemen. I'm saying, well, hey, you know what? He can't coach up effort if your leaders ain't doing it. So sometimes you gotta, as a player, you gotta hold that player accountable. And I just want to end off with this. It took Andy Reid how long to win the Super Bowl? Some of these people, I'm not necessarily taking a shot at Paul Gallant, but in the NFL right now, there's a problem of people being impatient. Because we in this society really do live in it. I want it now. Attention spans are shorter, and people feel like success is quicker. Nah, it's some overnight work that got to be done. And overnight don't necessarily mean overnight. It could mean, in the case of Andy Reid, nearly 30 years. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. I do believe Demeco Ryans is the coach for this team to lead them to the promised land, along with quarterback CJ Stroud. Continue to watch us on YouTube. Listen to wherever you listen to your podcast at, and give me a follow on Twitter at John_Hickman12.
And you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter and Big Star Sports with the Z at the end.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a good weekend. Peace.